This cemetery was originally part of a farm by the Tedder family. And Tedder is the first burial here. We only know she was buried under a big pine tree, which probably isn't here anymore. But that burial was in 1800. It is now administered by the Lee family, which is located over in this area. And as a private cemetery, they have an association. They come out a couple of times a year and clean it up, but they've gotten so old and kind of decrepit that they need some help. And when we started thinking about our cemetery project for community service and being a good neighbor, we thought that this would be a great way to preserve the history of this area. You'll find there a lot of burial, family burials over in here. Over here on the African American side, there's a number of veterans, and from the oral histories, what we gathered was that many of those African Americans buried over there probably worked for these whites that are buried over here in the families. And so when this area originally, Humble was a ranch and farming and agriculture, and so a lot of these fellas they're buried over here worked on those ranches. And I know when I was talking to one of the founders, he was talking about the big pine tree over there. And he said, that's where Willie Sims is buried over there. And he was a he was a blacksmith on our ranch, And kind of just the oral histories kind of reaffirmed what we had gotten in some other histories when people were talking about it all. And you'll see a number of veterans over there. Probably some of those burials are not marked, and they could have been either former slaves or they could have been the descendants of slaves. And like the old Prater Stewart Cemetery down on McClellan-Sorters Road, that has many former slaves because that was started in 1865. And so you'll see just a lot of black history. A lot of the history of Humble is right here in this cemetery. It's mostly forgotten about, and it is a private cemetery, a private segregated cemetery.
Before I was in this class, Mr. Wolfe's class, I didn't even know that it was divided like this. And then he told us about it and came out here. This is my first time out here. I'm trying to do a good job. Trying to clean up over here real good. If
by saving these cemeteries, we have an insight in what segregation was like, what the two Americas was like. And so you can see a lot of that. The Texas Historical Commission also has a program to earmark these and get historical markers for them and get them on their preservation list. So that's we're working towards that end. So we can get this cemetery and get the Stewart Prater Cemetery and a marker for Bordersville. We'd feel real successful. This cemetery has been vandalized a lot, and they're up right now. But there was a lot of the tops were knocked off the grave sites. Some of them have been destroyed. This has an interesting history to it. At nighttime, this is believed to be a haunted cemetery, and where that came from is we are built on top of a salt dome here, and at nighttime, when it gets real cold, those gases seep out of the ground, connect up with the environment, and so it's been called the blue light cemetery. I always thought because of what was going on in here, but it was actually because of that mixture of the lights and the gas, and people got really scared. These are our burn piles. The cemetery was so overgrown. We just had huge piles. On that side, you see a big burn spot there. And that's the way we do it out here in the county. We call the fire department, and then we start, as we clear the fence line, because see, along the fences it grows in about that much. So last week we were out here just clearing the fence lines, getting the trees up, and you get so much debris. And so we just go ahead and burn it right here. We got a couple of burn piles back there, and then we'll plant wildflowers in there, and the ash and the seeds and the plants really go well together, so we'll have a nice concentration of color there. So, and we've got some others down here. That's just the best, most efficient way to do that. This is a service learning project, and in the service learning project we have people doing genealogy, book historical research. Those people are out here just doing the physical work of this. We also have a group that's going to be writing the history. And so as the project moves and develops, we have more components to it. But it all eventually comes together to produce those outcomes of a history, of preservation, cultural awareness. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good achievements, I think. And it's very fulfilling for me.
Just basically we're helping out here clean up, you know, raking, with, you know, we might be cutting down some branches, trimming some branches, just making the place look a little bit, probably just a little bit cleaner and a little bit tidier.
I mean, I'm doing a good thing out here, you know. It's a pretty much ignored cemetery. That's not a good thing, so I guess it's a pretty positive thing to be doing.
Volunteer work, you know. It's good that we're out here cleaning up a cemetery. You don't really see that a lot. Dean Wolfe.
We work through our American history classes. At the same time, we're reading a book and doing a book review of Booker T. Washington. And one of the things that Washington talked about was the black communities needed to be about self-help, working their way up, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. And you can see all that in Bordersville. All the self-help groups they're in there, over here, providing a cemetery and a facility for them, but they'd be separate, and that was part of the old segregated way. So our students, they learn about this through the American history class, and do a book review, and they can also come out here and work on the service project for a grade. And so we get the real hands-on history of what's going on. And they're kind of shocked to see the separation of the two cemeteries. You know, a lot of people say, you know, can you do that? Is that legal? And I said, well, back then it was. And so that's been very informative for us. I think they're going to take away a feeling of making their America better by volunteering, by working together, by breaking down old barriers. And they see those barriers, and they can see where we've come from. But they also see there's a long way to go too. And so I think history becomes real relevant in situations like this. I know one of my students said to me, he was Hispanic, he says, well, where are the Hispanic cemeteries? You know, can we do something like that? And I said, well, I don't know where they are right now. That's another project. But you could tell they were motivated, and they're very shocked by what they see, and they're very moved by the history that's here, all the way back to 1800. And the Caledonia tedder died of scarlet fever, and all the infant mortality back here. It gives a neat picture of what America was, and how much better it is today. At some point, the only thing really left to do is just to maintain it. But as I said before, you know, we've found the pipe cemetery. That's a job that needs to be done. We need to write a more formal history to be deposited into the Humble Museum. We were kind of shocked by how little information they had about Bordersville and the cemeteries, and so we can help restore their history to them, and they can be more conscious of who their founding fathers were. And we think that's very, very important. It's funny, when you uncover history, you only find more history, and there's more projects to do. And what we're doing is really saving the history of Humble. We're saving family histories, and that's the legacy the students left behind. And we'd like to have some kind of a marker that would testify to that. And the communities, the Bordersville community, the Humble community, has always outreaches to us and gives us just about anything that we need. So we're very thankful for what they do. And the students are very moved by it too. I've relearned again is the idea that people conveniently or otherwise forget their history. They were so caught up in our careers and raising families. We look at history as always something behind us, but without an idea of our past, it really dulls our ability to go into a future and be true to certain traditions, things we believe in. We like to talk about values. Well, there's a lot of values in our past too. And without that sense of the past, it's hard to go into that future. Great people need great history. Great people still lose sight of who and what they were. And these little things that we're doing today help give us a clearer vision of what we hope to be and to live up and be true to something from our past.